Hello everyone, my name is Myles Jude. I'm currently a graduate student at UNC Charlotte working on my Master's of Education in Learning Design and Technology. During my instructional design course this semester, we have been tasked with utilizing and implementing the Morrison and Kemp model in order to target a problem or gap that we're noticing somewhere in an organization. Now, this was in addition to a combination with the ADDIE model as well. So for my project, I am currently working with students in higher ed who are employed as student workers within a university who have to go through mandated trainings. Each year they have training centered around campus safety that each student worker and professional staff as well must go through in order to, in a sense, be certified and know that they are trained. These are such things as the Clery Act or Title IX or media guidance provided by the university. And so the gap that we're noticing has to do with the students' retention of those key concepts and processes for campus safety. Once again, for this, we use the Morrison and Kemp model. The diagram below outlines the Morrison and Kemp model as well as the components of the ADDIE model that was implemented as kind of like the foundation for this project. In addition, the textbook on the right, Designing Effective Instruction, was the main resource for this course and is the main kind of provided guidelines, an outline of what was expected, what to include, questions to ask. It was a great resource and a foundational kind of like roadmap for this project. The project outline for the semester followed the ADDIE model, and so the presentation outline follows the same as well. You'll be introduced to the problem statement and then given snapshots of each of the other of how this was created, developed, and implemented, and finally evaluated to support training students in their retention of these mandated reporter details. So once again, we start with the problem statement, then move into our analysis stage, our design stage, our development, our implementation, and finally our evaluation. To start with, we have our problem statement. And so once again, this centers around the mandated trainings that impact campus safety at the university. So students attend a training or 2 days of training prior to the academic year starting, where they are presented and provided information for a multitude of trainings. So there's a lot of information that they are intaking on those 2 days. However, there is a strong time span and timeline between when they're initially trained on that and when they receive any additional information or learning centering around those topics. And so there is a lack of retention strategies that are implemented throughout the academic year to actually support the students in their confidence and understanding of this information. And so as mandated reporters, it is vital for them to know what to do, the processes to follow, and how to report if they witness something, if they experience something themselves, or if someone comes to them and shares something with them, because they are mandated reporters while they are working. And so a solution to this is to kind of build up the training while at the same time providing things throughout the academic year that help them retain that information to be able to utilize it when needed. So once that problem was identified, it was time to move into the analysis stage. There were many components of the analysis stage, such as an organizational analysis, a needs analysis, a learner analysis, a contextual analysis, a gap and task analysis, along with unit goals and instructional objectives. So as we move forward, we'll kind of get small snapshots of what was collected, what information was gathered in order to actually have a foundation to build this training module from. Here is a snapshot of the analysis that was collected. When it comes to the organization, there are 3 department units and 9 student worker positions that students could have, and those 9 student work positions fall under any one of the 3 department units. When it comes to the need that arose, it's centered around, once again, them being mandated reporters while they are working, centering around campus safety. As it is expected of them and required of them to be able to understand and follow the appropriate reporting processes if, once again, if they experience a crime, if they witness a crime, or if someone shares it with them. And when it comes to the student workers, there are about 65 to 75 student workers at a time, each of them varying in the amount of semesters they have worked within the department and the amount of experience they have or background that they bring to the table. Some students have been here for 1 semester, some have been here for 4 or 5. And so that also changes the fact that they have gone through this training most likely more than once, or this is their first time going through this training. But the expectation for all of them is still the same. One of the big challenges that was faced during this when creating the module was their complex schedules. Having 9 student worker positions, 65 to 75 student workers, the chances of them being able to be all in the same room for a training was nearly impossible during the academic year. Each of the student workers follows different schedules. Some work from 8 to 10 a.m., some work from 7 to 10 p.m. And so there are varying schedules that make things very complex to make this module had to be very adaptable and being able to kind of fit within their niche schedules that they have, whether it be working, school, and social life or leadership and other aspects of the university. The students were provided a survey, which kind of survey/questionnaire, which was a retention survey to kind of see what they remember from the training centering around foundational components, such as for the Clery Act, how do you report a Clery Act violation? What is the purpose of the Clery Act? Who is the key person on campus to contact if there is a situation with the Clery Act to provide you guidance? And with that survey, about 55% accuracy was received from the students who took the survey, which means that between that and the desired performance, there's about a 25% difference between where they are currently at and their desired performance for these topics. And this survey was provided to them about 1 month after the in-person training occurred. So now that we have our foundation, our analysis under our belt, we moved into the design section of our project. So our design section of our project included 5 different pieces that we needed to focus on when it come to our training module. First off was our sequencing, as well as our instructional message, strategies, text design, and multimedia design. So for this one, I'm going to give you an example of the sequencing for the Clery Act training. And so since students are varying experiences, varying backgrounds, have gone through this training, have not gone through this training, the sequencing aspect starts with kind of like a developing and kind of getting that prior knowledge out by having a collaborative activity where they can start thinking about things they remember from the Clery Act, may have heard, questions they may have, kind of like a brain dump of when things centered around the Clery Act, what in the world can you do? Or what you know. And then moving into the background. The history of the Clery Act is very important in understanding as to why these processes and procedures and reports are created and implemented and why we have this expectation on you, followed by kind of getting the key players, understanding who's the who to contact, where are they at, where are they located on campus, kind of building their knowledge around that to use as a resource. Then moving into WCU's responsibility, because truly the students only have a small piece of a much larger responsibility that the university has when it comes to the Clery Act and reports that are being made, followed by their responsibilities, their processes, their expectations that they need to happen before moving into kind of like a scenario stage. Providing them opportunities to kind of actually think through the processes and the situations with examples. Collaborative, communicating with the team. Since this is a lot of new information, it's not going to be individual, but a big collaborative effort to support each other in these learning topics. Now that the central design components are created, we moved into our development stage. And there are two aspects, the instructional materials and the delivery methodology of the Morrison Kemp model that we utilized and brainstormed and planned for this training module. So when it comes to the instructional materials, there are a wide range of resources that we have available, or at least I have available, to use. Such things as Microsoft PowerPoint, Canvas, Miro, Lucid Spark, multimedia videos, module assessments, scenarios, job aids, and flowcharts. There's a wide range to really support the students' retention in a multitude of ways, as well as the delivery methodology. And so since there are 65 to 75 students, not all of them can be at the main training. People get hired all throughout the year. It's kind of like a revolving door because college students have different experiences, may leave for an internship, may graduate, may find a job somewhere else. And so there's a constant revolving door of students. In addition to, not all of them are at fall training. Fall training is the main component of the training to get this information, but not everyone's there. Not everyone's there or because they missed, they are working somewhere else, they're hired after that date, and so they're still expected to follow the processes because they are classified as a mandated reporter. So really for this delivery, this is a self-paced module that target students who miss fall training or are hired after that date so they can still have that confidence to know this information, as well as an additional resource for those who were at the training. When it comes to the implementation, there are four main components of the implementation that I am looking and working on implementing with the students. The first one is during the actual training, whether it be fall or spring, that they have review activities throughout the day because there is a lot of information coming at them. And so being able to provide opportunities, little snapshots to practice this information or try to retain and remember in engaging ways, as well as job aids and flowcharts. Most of these have processes and expectations upon them. And so having that job aid and having that flowchart available to them at all times as a huge resource to know if someone comes up to me or someone shares with me or I see something, I can use this job aid or this flowchart in order to know what to do next in the process, how to report it, who do I contact, different aspects like that to help build their confidence. Know that we don't expect people to be experts. We're going to provide you the resources to kind of help you be independent with it though. In addition to weekly knowledge bits. So the department used Microsoft Teams, and so each week there is information from trainings that go out to all the students and professional staff with each month centering around a different topic. So for example, the month of October is the Clery Act. And so each week there are weekly knowledge bits to support their retention and kind of help give them reminders. With the main focus, of course, being the online learning modules, interactive modules that they can utilize and access throughout the academic year. That's provided to them, provide that foundational information that's taken from training to continue that. And so the online learning modules, or at least one of them, is the focus of this project. Lastly, we move into our evaluation stage. And so that all the evaluations for this will be conducted through the department's Canvas course, something that they already utilize for trainings and resources. All the students are already inputted into the Canvas course. And they're also familiar with Canvas because it's what's used across the university. And so the goal is to utilize that Canvas course to have these assessments, to have these trainings implemented to support in their learning and retention. So once again, like what already has happened, there will be a pre-assessment, or there was a pre-assessment where kind of ask foundational questions, questionnaire, kind of a self-evaluation as well as like how confident do you feel to implement these processes and strategies on your own. As well as within the course, there are formative assessments, such things as mid-module checks and collaborative tasks within the modules that they must complete to kind of show their understanding and to kind of get ideas out and brainstorm. And then lastly, we have the summative assessments, which will center around scenario reflections, different other assessments, and also another self-evaluation. really wanting the students to feel confident and know what they are learning and how they feel when it comes to being able to implement that, which is always going to be a challenge because it's something that may not be utilized a lot during their time as a student worker, but it's still required of them and expected of them to follow. As we kind of close out, I just want to thank you for taking the time. I appreciate this opportunity to kind of be able to share what I've been working on, what I've been able to develop and create and kind of learn about as we go through, especially when it comes to the details of the Morrison and Kemp model, the ADDIE model, just instructional design in general. So I greatly appreciate this opportunity, and I'm always looking for feedback, guidance, instruction, tips, tricks, whatever it may be. Um, my contact information is down there, right there, my name and email. So feel free to reach out to me, or if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. Thank you once again.